You're listening to the Geek Watch Podcast, episode 87, Casting News and What the Dead.
This is the Geek Watch Podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 87 of the Geek Watch Podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hi, Brian.
So we have movie news. We had some trailers come out. We've had some shows that have come out that we're going to talk about today, but let's get started with some casting news that's come out this week. We've gotten two new castings for the new Matrix movie, Matrix 4, which we've talked about before. Neil Patrick Harris and Jessica Henwick are going to both be in the new Matrix movie.
Huh.
So, of course, we know Neil Patrick Harris, of course. They haven't said what his role is, but it was has been confirmed with Warner Brothers that he is going to be in the movie. And Henwick, she played Colleen Wing in Iron Fist, and she was in Game of Thrones. Nymeria Sand, yeah, she played that character. She's going to be playing the lead. So I guess she's the lead character. So I guess Neo is not going to be the lead character, although we know that both Neo and Trinity is going to be in the movie. And I know we're going to be getting a young Morpheus. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, I think, is the name of the actor. And he's going to be playing, he's rumored to be playing the role of a young Morpheus. So, and they're saying that Jada Pinkett Smith may be coming back also. Okay. She played Niobe in the third one. Was it the third one or was it the second one? I think it was the second one. I get the second and the third ones mixed up. Oh, yeah,
absolutely. They're kind of blend together.
Yeah, she may be coming back as well.
A resident of Zion.
Yes, there you go. A resident of Zion. That was announced for the Matrix. I guess Matrix 4 or whatever they're going to call it. They've also announced that Zoe Kravitz is going to be the new Catwoman in the Matt Reeves Batman movie.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I've heard some people kind of complain about it a little bit. You know, why are we going to have, a black Catwoman?
Eartha Kitt, that's why.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing,
the best
too.
Catwoman ever was. Yeah, I like the other Catwomen, but she's my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the other thing, too, is, this is not the first time she's played Catwoman. Oh? She was the voice of Catwoman in the Lego Batman movie. Really? So it's not like she's never done this before.
Okay.
It's same character,
Was not aware of that. That is pretty cool.
So, yeah. So there you go. I think she's going to be great in the role myself. And that's exciting. It'll be, I'm waiting to see that. Now, I don't know if you know about this or not. I wanted to check with you. Did you ever see The Craft back in the day?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're doing
I was a 12, 13-year-old girl. Of course I saw The Craft.
Oh, of course. Mm-hmm. Now, they're doing a remake. Blumhouse is doing a remake. So we got some casting news. Uh-huh. So apparently, Blumhouse, and again, this is not a role, we don't know what the role is, but David Duchovny's going to be in it. So I guess he's been cast for something there. But, of course, we've already got the 4 cast already. I think it was, what was it? Deadline mentioned David Duchovny's casting, and also reported, I believe it was in Deadline, the 4 actresses who are going to be playing, which I have to say, I don't know which one of the actors is going to be playing the Faruqa Balk part, but I don't know how you cast for that. I mean, that was...
If they're doing a complete, straight remake, the exact same characters, the exact same everything, I don't know that you could. I would rather see 4 completely different girls, 4, different characters, different actresses, that's what I would like to see out of the new Craft.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, though, you have to have at least one person of color, cast. Otherwise, I probably would boycott the movie on general principles. And they did. So, yeah, that's fine. But the Gideon Adlon is one of the actors. She was in The Society, which is a Netflix film. She was in Blockers, and let's see, Lovey Simone, or Simone, Lovey Simone. She was on TV on Greenleaf. She was in Orange is the New Black. And Zoe Luna, she was in a Rosario Dawson short film, Boundless. She was in Pose, which is an FX drama.
I love Pose.
These are, and the lead is being played by Kaylee Spaney. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She's done a bunch of things. She was in Pacific Rim Uprising. She was in Bad Times at the El Royale, which I enjoyed the heck out of that movie. On the Basis of Sex, Advice. Although, like I said, a lot of these actors, they're rather new to the business,
which I like that.
I really do like that.
Upcomers and they should be young. They should, of course, for the
exactly,
not just having that idea of teenage girls doing seances or anything, but also having that sort of new to life innocence in a jaded world.
Oh yeah,
so that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, definitely, but. Even though, like I said, they're rather young and up and coming, but Spaney, she's for the limited amount of time she's really been acting, she's done a lot of stuff. She's done a ton of stuff, so she's already got acting chops. So I think this is going to be really good. Of course, there's no trailers out for it yet. Blumhouse, I don't know when. I think it's June of next year when they're going to start shooting. So I guess right now they're still casting, but. Blumhouse, they have a reputation of being able to put stuff out really quickly. So I would say, early 2021, it'll be out and ready to go. So something I saw in the news today, Kevin Feige has gotten another promotion. Did you hear about this?
No.
Yes, he is now the new chief creative officer of Marvel Entertainment.
Okay.
Well. So... basically what this means is he's even higher up on the food chain. Basically what it means to be the chief creative officer is now, of course, he started out, he was basically working Marvel films and he managed the films. And then of course he had somebody who was dealing with the television side and he got to a point where he was dealing with the television and the films. Well, now as the chief creative officer of Marvel Entertainment, not only does he deal with the films now and the television, but he's also managing the comics.
Oh, awesome.
So, of course, now you're going to seeing him in charge of all of that. It's going to be, I have to say, I'm really interested to see how that's going to affect the comics now, that he's going to be basically managing all the storylines for the comics. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the comics are where you get the inspiration for the movies and everything else, but... obviously he's really good at doing storylines, separate storylines as well as, broad stories that cover different properties. And so, one of the things that a lot of people complain about comic books in general is that sometimes you have these big storylines that make you have to buy every comic,
so you could get every little...
So you get every part of the story. Mm-hmm. But, Kevin Feige's really good at being able to do these, multiple brand stories because he's been doing that in the movies. But he's also extremely creative, and as well as being able to find really good creative talent, even if it's talent that people aren't that aware of, and be able to bring them to the fore. And I think especially with comic books. In the situation that they're in right now, that's going to be a real challenge for him to turn things around for Marvel, because everybody's struggling. It's not just Marvel.
Stepping over to DC for a second, we're finally getting Doomsday Clock. I can remember maybe 2 years ago we were started talking about this, and Watchmen and the DC universe finally crossing over with each other, and I wonder if that coming out has something to do with the HBO series. If they plan those out together to kind of give each other a boost or something.
Well, that would make a lot of sense if they did.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly the story from what I haven't been keeping up with it. I haven't been keeping up with a lot of the comics at all, to be honest. But I know that they've been developing this for a long time, and this has been a long story, and they've been taking their time to develop it for sure. But it makes perfect sense to me if they're going to bring this out, to
piggyback
it certainly with what's going on with HBO. And it's like we talked about last week that the season is going to be self-contained, and there's a possibility it might be the only season we get, but Yeah, definitely you want to strike when the fire is hot, for sure. But you're right. I think this is a good time to really start to develop that storyline. They've spent, like you said, some time, building that story up, and they're probably ready to bring it out now for sure. Now, there were some trailers that came out. There was a horror movie that I didn't know was coming out and saw the trailer for. It's called The Turning.
Yeah.
Which, of course, based off The Turn of the Screw.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which, have you read The Turn of the Screw?
Yes.
Yeah.
And, listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are some of my favorite mediums. I've listened to it. Of course, my favorite, just like Pet Sematary, my favorite was the BBC's radio production of it.
Right.
It's great. It's been put to film. It's been put to TV. There's an opera. There's a ballet when it comes to Turn of the Screw. And I don't know if you were aware of this, Brian, but most of the time when it's produced, they always rename it.
Yeah.
It's been The Innocents. It's been Through the Shadow. It's been In a Dark Place, but they never call it The Turn of the Screw. Well,
right.
I'm sorry, rarely call it The Turn of the Screw. So when I saw the trailer, I didn't see the title yet, but I saw, the kids, the teacher. I was like, oh, this is The Turn of the Screw.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, and then there's, and they call it The Turning. And like, I'm not surprised.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Well, and of course, if you've read the story or you're familiar with the story,
highly recommend.
Oh,
Go
yes.
read it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a landmark in fiction. And I don't want to really go into a whole lot of detail why that's the case, because again, there's a twist in this, or I should say, maybe there's a twist.
Maybe yes. Is there a twist? Or?
Maybe there is. Maybe there.
Maybe
I mean,
not.
It did something in a story that you hadn't really seen a lot of before, and that's why this, of course, honestly, it's if you're into any kind of horror fiction, it is definitely required reading. I mean, when I saw the trailer, Finn Wolfhard, he's looking creepy as all get out.
Yeah.
So
that's I think he's he's definitely laid his stake as a horror actor. He is
well, Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Certainly.
Stranger Things.
It.
Yeah, he's really he's Jamie Lee Curtis. He's
he's found his spot for sure.
He's found
Yeah, he's definitely found his spot. But so I thought that was interesting. There were a couple of Disney trailers that came out this week. One, on the surface, I thought, oh, here we go again. Because for some reason, of course, Disney wants to put out movies on everything. And they started doing, of course, and this was years ago, they started, creating movies out of their rides.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah.
Right. Well, which did really well.
Mansion, which didn't.
Not so much. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which absolutely didn't.
That they did that?
Yes, they did.
I mean,
that's how bad it was. You didn't even know about it.
Well, I knew about Wind in the Willows, but I didn't know about Mr. Toad's Wild. No, I had no idea that was even a thing.
Oh, yeah.
I like Wind in the Willows.
Yeah.
Or what is it? It's The Adventures of Mr. Toad. Ichabod Crane and Mr. Toad, they did it as a short.
Right.
It wasn't the full Wind in the Willows. It was a little short about Mr. Toad and his obsession with automobiles.
Right.
They took one little part of the story
of
Wind in the Willows and put it in one of their anthology movies.
Yeah. So there's a new movie out based on one of their rides. The Jungle Cruise. It's called Jungle Cruise.
Oh, yeah. The Rock's in it, right?
Yes, he's in it, and Emily Blunt's in it. So
yeah, I've seen pictures. I didn't know the trailer had come out.
Yeah,
I've seen them dressed up. And he's kind of got this sort of Popeye look to him.
Oh yeah, definitely. So like I said, on paper, you just look at that and go, why are you doing this?
Why are you doing this, Disney?
Why are you doing it? But then I saw the trailer and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of on for it now.
I'm on board. Literally, Jungle Cruise.
There you go. So I had to say, that it looks like it's going to be pretty interesting if the story's definitely there, because of course Dwayne Johnson plays this captain of the ship who takes people on tours up the jungle, and he's sort of like adventure cruises, but he hires people to make things seem more adventurous, let's say.
Okay.
And then he winds up getting put on a real adventure when Emily Blunt and her brother hires him to take them up the river, which he's really not that interested in until, of course, money becomes an issue. And it's like, okay, yes, I will definitely do this for money. And of course, there's this running joke about how he keeps raising the price of it, where it costs more. For example, if he takes them up there and brings them back alive, it costs something. But if they happen to die, if she happens to die, he has to charge her more for that. Because then he has to carry her back, and that's a hassle. So he's gonna charge her extra if he has to carry her back out of the jungle. So, but it looks like it's going to be really funny, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So,
Okay.
what the heck? But going back to Disney, bringing stuff out of the vaults, they're redoing Doolittle.
Yes.
Which, again, it's like, why do you just keep remaking all these movies? But you're putting Robert Downey Jr. in it, so that looks like fun too.
Yep. It's pretty much it's Sherlock moved out, to the middle of nowhere and started talking to animals. So
there you go. Yeah, to be honest, Rex Harrison is going to be that's a hard act to follow for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know some people out there are probably asking me, why didn't I mention Eddie Murphy? Well, I got reasons. But, he did his version of Doolittle.
And none of them have to do with Aaliyah.
No, not at all. But
beautiful, beautiful music video from that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Yeah, so we got a teaser trailer for that, and that looks like that's going to be a lot of fun. Again, we're now at a place where talking animals you can make them look a heck of a lot more real, for sure.
Oh yeah.
So Disney, they're not stopping. They're bringing out more stuff. So so I'm looking forward to see more of that when it comes out, and may get a chance to check that out for sure. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about, because we mentioned a little bit about Breaking Bad and El Camino, that they were shooting a Breaking Bad movie. Well, that came out last weekend, and I did get a chance to watch it. Now, I know I know you know a little bit about Breaking Bad.
Yeah, not much.
But not much. Yeah, that's definitely a show that you want to check out for sure. But the Breaking Bad movie did come out, and it was written and directed by Vince Gilligan. And it covers mostly... it's based on Jesse Pinkman and what happens to him moments after he escapes. So it follows him after basically the end of the series. And I don't want to go into a whole lot of spoilers about it, but to me, it really does feel like a 2-hour long episode of Breaking Bad. It really blends in really well with the end of the movie. But because it feels like that 2-hour episode, it really doesn't backtrack a lot and explain a lot of things to you. It just assumes that you've seen the show and that you know what's going on.
Uh-huh.
So if you've never seen Breaking Bad before, there's really no reason to watch El Camino, because you're going to be lost. Because it's like, especially with the Jesse Pinkman character, because you're like, why do we care about this jerk? Well, we had 5 seasons of Jesse Pinkman, and we learned to care about this guy, even with his foibles and his problems. And, of course, which is the strength of Vince Gilligan, is that our 2 main characters, Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, are not really nice people. And, of course, Walter White becomes less and less nice as things go along. But that was, again, Gilligan had written so many really good episodes of television before then. He basically challenged himself in a real sense to write, non-sympathetic characters and make you sympathize about him. I mean, he turned the difficulty level way up, but he was good enough to pull that off. But like I said, at the same time, if you don't know who Jesse Pinkman is, you kind of wonder why we would even care about this jerk. But for those of us who watch the show, in a weird way, we do. But the thing about it, too, is if it's been a while since you've seen the show, it may even be a good idea to maybe revisit some of the episodes, because there are a lot of references in the show. And there are a couple references I noticed from, Better Call Saul.
Oh, okay. The spinoff, right?
The spinoff show. There's a reference or two in there as well. But like I said, if you're not familiar with what happened in the show, you're just going to be lost. Like I said, there's no reason to watch El Camino. So I would say consider that, episode. Consider it season 6. A 1 episode season 6 episode, and stay away from it until you've watched 1 through 5. In fact, I think honestly, it'll watch better for you if your memory is fresh on the stuff that's happened previously. But if you don't know anything that's going on. But like I said, there's a lot of great Jesse Pinkman moments in there. There's, like I said, I'm not going to go into any spoilers because you certainly don't want any going into it for sure. But there is a moment where Jesse, he's trying to be really, really clever. And of course, he's Jesse Pinkman, so he's not really. But it's this moment where he thinks that he is just so smart. And for a moment there, you're kind of going with him. It's like, maybe he has figured something out. And then, of course, the rug gets pulled out from under him because he's Jesse Pinkman. So, and it's hilarious.
Our lovable sad sack.
Yes, for sure. But I did enjoy it. Some people, if you're like I said, if you're looking for a movie that's more grandiose than the TV show, you're not going to get that. I mean, it feels like I said, it feels like the television show. It doesn't feel like it's an upscale version of it done in a movie form. And they're certainly not spending any time going back to explain certain things. So
was that Netflix? Who did that?
That was Netflix, yes. So it's on Netflix now, streaming. And like I said, there are some moments in there where if you've not seen the show, you'll go, okay, that's kind of interesting. And if you have seen the show, you go, oh man, that's messed up. Actually, that's pretty messed up. But you're not going to know that if you don't know the show. So I'd say, like I said, El Camino, it's definitely, I think, for Breaking Bad fans, it's worth a watch if you've seen the show. If it's not, just save it. Watch it after you've seen the first 5 seasons of the show, and then visit El Camino. Lastly, of course, we got to talk Walking Dead. We got episode 2 now. Have you seen it yet?
I have. Okay, I've seen it. I've seen most of it. I had a very busy weekend, so I was like, I watched bits and pieces of it at different times. So there may be parts that I haven't seen. So if we're doing What the Dead, warn of the spoilers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, because I want to go to the very end first. Okay. So when she lifts up the mask, the real time,
right?
And she smiles at him and covers him up and does all that thing. My initial thought was, okay, is he deformed? Did he get scars or something like that? But then reading about theories on the internet and stuff, that he may be someone famous in this world, and that he might be recognized. And that could be like a big reveal at the end of the season. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. That's something I didn't see coming at all.
Right. They've. Even in the comic, he's. They say that he was somebody. He might have been a sports figure or something like that. People knew, but they don't really say for sure. What was interesting about the end part of that, of course, is that apparently he. Was going down a road very similar to the governor, where there was somebody he really cared about,
kept them,
kept them, and in a real sense kept him in a major way, because he's wearing their T-shirt and he's wearing their face.
He's wearing their face,
and he's wearing their face. So he took both of those things, and
that was really the start of the Whisperers. Right there, it was when she told him to. It's when she's doing her Jim Jones, come join me. And I guess A Brave New World. It says, we are the end of the world. That was the name of the episode.
We are the end of the world.
We are the end of the world. And we have this more Brave New World thing. We got alphas, betas, and gammas now. And all of this going on. So we're going to be this Brave New World. And that was like the beginning. And finding out that the Whisperers, that they're not that old. They haven't been around since the beginning.
Right.
So they're just like really just a few years old have they started doing this. So they don't have this, I guess, ancient way of life and dressing up and philosophy of we're animals now. It's pretty new. And
right. Well, I mean, certainly you have humans in the zombie apocalypse. They will cling to anybody that they feel has some level of strength and can protect them. Whatever that philosophy is, is whether it was Rick's group, which of course, of course we used to talk about the Ricktatorship.
Yep.
So, the level of democracy has ebbed and flowed in that group for sure. But then, of course, you have the saviors and their philosophy. To the strong belong the spoils, and then, of course, now with the Whisperers and this whole idea of the dead rule everything. We learn to play ball by the new rules for sure.
They had kind of this. The villains have sort of they've had good names, like the governor. Kind of has this this government of his own, and he wants the people to think that everything's great, but then right behind the scenes you've got awful things going on to take care of things and you got the terrible people to do everything. Then like you got the saviors, they all say I'm Negan. They know that they have to do bad things and that they have to in order to survive. And so now we've got the pack, and in order to survive we have to become animals. So they've done really well, and I guess that goes, all the way back to the comics. They've done well at giving titles to these to the villains of the series,
right?
And now we've got Alpha and Beta, who are just fantastic villains, and I think it'll be hard to top them.
Yeah,
as
for
far
sure.
as villains go.
I mean, we still have that mystery of Beta, which I don't think, especially, at least in the beginning, you don't want to know as much about him. I like the fact that he's sort of their version of a Jason or a Michael Myers.
Oh, yeah.
That you don't really know what.
They didn't even thinly veil that.
Yeah.
The opening scene, right? Where he's standing there with the machete.
And a ski mask, yeah. Yeah, they couldn't have made it, for sure. But, of course, now we have, we also have the story of Frances and Mary, the two sisters. And Frances, for some reason, Alpha made Frances take her baby with them, and then wound up forcing her to
leave her baby behind.
Exactly, which in a real sense became a parallel, of course, for Alpha. And that whole question about whether as far as Alpha, what she says as compared to her particular beliefs, and kind of having to go a little bit crazy to deal with it in a real sense. But Frances wanted her dead and almost wound up killing her.
And, seeing Alpha challenged, really, this is really the first time we've seen her be challenged by her pack.
Right.
That at first she was just willing to lay her baby down because Alpha said so. And it took up until now for her to finally break into, the big F you moment and I don't believe in you anymore. But that's also the power that she does have over her pack, because Mary does, in fact, kill her own sister.
Exactly. And, of course, because of that, she becomes Gamma. So seeing how that leadership role will develop, and especially since, I mean, Beta's a little bit leery of her for sure.
There's so much more occult than Michonne always called the governor, who's like real Jim Jones type, and like Alpha, the Whisperers, they're the real cult here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're a cult in pretty much any way that you could call them a cult, because they have their viewpoint. They have, in a real sense, a religion, which is the dead rule, and
now,
we have to become.
Negan was Caesar, and talked about that before. Negan was Caesar, Rick was Spartacus, and and now we've got our Jim Jones. We've got
very much so.
All cult leaders, Charlie Manson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. She's definitely that. She's definitely that type of character, and seeing how it develops is going to be interesting. And like I said, this episode we get a look behind the curtain to what how the Whisperers work, and what it's like to be a Whisperer. And of course, our next episode is, we're going to have that clash.
The big clash. Yeah, I got to be honest. I wasn't looking forward to this episode, but I'm like, oh, it's another flashback. It's another origin episode.
Right.
I've had enough. But I was pleasantly, not surprised, but I was happy with this episode. I'm glad we got it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's to do an episode like this can be a rough call, because you're either, like I said, if you develop the background of these characters, it allows you to kind of follow them a little bit more, but sometimes it's better off that they're mysterious and you don't know that much. Mm-hmm. And so as a writer, sometimes that's a difficult call to make, because, what's the better advantage? Develop them as characters and in that way make them more three-dimensional? Or do you leave them in the shadows and leave them mysterious and make people wonder about them? And that really depends on what you're going to do with the characters. And, of course, we don't know what that's going to be until as these next episodes. But honestly, I don't know how long they're going to continue the whole storyline with the Whisperers, because, well, the thing about it is I think that it's probably going to last past all of season 11, I would think. I don't know. I mean, of course, season 10, they've got it split, between, like they've done before, you've got a part 1 and a part 2. And I think we're still going to be dealing with the Whisperers after the part 2, because, I mean, look how much time they gave to the Saviors. And I think they need to, especially with the Whisperers, I think they need to give that group time to, like I said, grow. But I have to say also that for a while, The Walking Dead, the zombies weren't that scary anymore, because they kind of took a back seat to what was going on with the Saviors and all of that.
The humans are much scarier.
Right. But you're getting the best of both worlds here, because you're definitely getting more and more of the zombies, because, of course, they're the weapon. They're the nuclear warhead for the Whisperers. And from this episode, you see also that they're not done gathering them. They're getting as many of them as they can, and they're continually growing their army of the dead. So, as time goes along, and again, we're getting to this point of, of course, our intrepid survivors are trying to live and let live, but the longer they do this, the more dangerous the Whisperers become. And certainly from the trailers that we've seen for this season of Walking Dead, there's coming a point where the survivors, they don't want to continue with live and let live. It's already, we've seen, like in the first episode, you have some people saying, we need to keep this truce. We need to keep the peace. And you have others saying it's not going to last, and we need to do something about this now while we still can. And so we've got, like I said, the first episode, we see the schisms that are rising up between the survivors. And now we're all, of course, see episode 2. We're seeing that even the Whisperers are having their issues and differences in philosophy. And so where this all plays out, the only thing we can do is keep tuning in and watching, and I guess we'll find out then. So, but I did see the trailer for episode 3. Have you?
I did not see it.
They played that at the end of the episode, and it's coming to a head. And it's like and we talked about this last week. I'm definitely looking to see an Alpha Carol throwdown.
Yeah,
I want that more than anything, and I think we're going to get
burn the world down.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, who wins? I don't know who wins, and I think that's what's exciting about it is, Carol's actually pretty evenly matched with Alpha. They're both they've both done some really messed up things, and they're both missing children. They're both mothers who don't have their kids anymore and are really upset about it, and are they're ready to go at each other. And so I don't know when we're going to get it, but it's going to be pretty impressive when we do, for sure. And so with that said, we come to the end of episode 87 of the Geek Watch podcast. Thank you for listening, and tune in next week for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time. Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.